Hello, everybody. I'm Parsha Becky, and welcome back to another week of Parsha. As I'm sure you recall, we are currently in the middle of reading the second book of Chumash, the book of Shemot. Shemot means names, and the name of this week's Parsha is Mishpatim. Now, the Hebrew word Mishpatim can mean sentences or it can mean laws. And at the start of the Parsha, Hashem says to Moshe, "Hey, Moshe, I need you to tell these sentences about laws to all the Jewish people because I've got some laws that they need to know." The first law we learn in Mishpatim talks about the situation of an Eved Ivri. If a Jewish person is working for another Jewish person as a servant in their home, living with them, working for them full time, they can work for this other person for up to 6 years. But in the 7th year, they get to go home and be their own boss again. But what if, the Torah says, what if they love it so much working for you that they don't want to leave? They're like, you know what? It's actually amazing living here and working for you. You treat me really great. I really like it here. It's like family. What happens then? So you take them to the door of your house and you pierce their ear right up against the doorpost so that the nail piercing their ear goes through their earlobe into the doorpost. Then you take it out. We don't leave them stuck to the door. And that's a sign that they will be working for you forever. The Parsha continues with rules about consequences for various actions, including consequences for if somebody kills somebody else or injures somebody else or kidnaps somebody else, all bad choices, which we're not going to do. It also has consequences for if somebody's animal kills or injures somebody else, or if somebody's animal kills or injures someone else's animal. And it talks about consequences for if somebody's animal causes property damage to someone else, or if somebody makes a fire on their own property, which then spreads and damages someone else's property as well. The Parsha also talks about the rules for if you have somebody guard something of yours and then it gets stolen. Then the guard has to make a promise that they did not do anything wrong when they were guarding your object, that it's not their fault that it got stolen. And related to that, speaking of when things get stolen, we've got rules for the consequences for the thief. Now, obviously, you steal something, you have to give it back. But more than that, stealing is something bad to do. There's consequences for that. So the Torah says that actually, if you steal something, you have to pay back double of what you stole. And the Parsha adds that if, let's say, you can't give it back, because let's say you stole a sheep or a cow and you ate it, you cooked and ate it, well then, you don't just have to give back double. If you stole a sheep and you cooked and ate that sheep, now you can't give it back. You have to pay back 4 sheep. And if you stole a cow and you cooked and ate that cow and you can't give it back, you have to pay back 5 cows. The Parsha also has reminders about being generous to people in need, especially being generous to the needy who need money that we should share with them, and to the stranger who doesn't have their own land to grow food on, and to the widow and orphan who don't have their family to take care of them. The Parsha gives us rules about fairness. If you are a judge in a court of law, you must be absolutely fair. You can't be extra nice to somebody because you're like, oh, I'll be nice because she's my friend, or I'll be nice because he's super important, or I'll be nice because I feel bad for him, or I'll be nice because she said she'll give me $100 if I say she's right. No, you can't do any of that. You have to listen to everybody fairly and equally and judge fairly. And speaking of fairness, also, if you see an animal wandering around lost, or an animal that fell down because what it was carrying was too heavy for it, and you're like, hey, I recognize that animal. That belongs to someone I hate. You still have to help the animal bring it back to its owner, or help its owner pick it up, because it's not the animal's fault that you hate its owner. And the Parsha continues also with reminders that just like we have Shabbat every 7 days, we get to rest. Every 7 years, our land gets to rest. Every 7th year is called Shemitah, and in the Shemitah year, the land rests, meaning we don't plant, we don't garden, we don't harvest anything you want to eat that grows from the ground. You can pick one off and eat it right away, but more than that, you can't gather stuff up and save it for later. You can eat stuff that you grew the previous year. And the next year, again, we can go back to planting. And speaking of special things that happen on a yearly or multi-yearly basis, the Torah says 3 times in a year, we have to go to the Beit HaMikdash on Pesach, Sukkot, and Shavuot. We celebrate with Hashem. We give Hashem gifts, and it's a really nice holiday. And Moshe tells all these rules to the Jewish people, and the Jewish people are like, yes, we will do everything that Hashem says. We are so excited to do everything Hashem says. And Moshe's like, wow, I'm so happy you said that. It's so wonderful to hear. And they do some special sacrifices. They give some cows to Hashem. And here's the gross part. Like they take the blood from the cows that they sacrifice. And Moshe actually like flicks the blood over all the Jewish people who are all gathered there, which is a little gross. But he says like by like having this blood flicked on you, it's like you guys are all physically a part of this sacrifice, a part of this special agreement between the Jewish people and Hashem. We're all entering into this agreement because we all had the blood flicked over us, so that Hashem is our God and we listen to Hashem. Hashem takes care of us. And then Moshe tells the Jewish people, he's like, okay, I'm going to go up the mountain. I'm going to go up Har Sinai to learn the entire Torah from Hashem. Now, I'm going to be up there a while, so you guys need like a supply teacher to watch you while I'm gone. Aaron and Hur will be in charge while I'm up the mountain. Anyone has any questions, comments, complaints, concerns, you can take them to Aaron and Hur and they will take care of you. And I'll be back when I'm back. Moshe goes up Har Sinai, and a thick cloud covers the top of the mountain for 6 days. And after that, Hashem begins to speak to Moshe. And Moshe is up on the top of Har Sinai for 40 days and 40 nights. And that is the end of Parshat Mishpatim. Shabbat Shalom.